Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to blank game week 29. My name is Joe and as ever I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's editor Neale to discuss the latest team news and developments ahead of the deadline. Neale, welcome. How are you?
Good, thank you, Joe. Yeah, slightly quieter week this week because there's only 16 teams in Premier League action. But
Oh,
we will actually bring you some team news from the two of the others, Liverpool and Newcastle, because they did have press conferences this morning. There's
oh,
one very big update
okay.
from Trent.
Good stuff. Excellent. Hopefully we can address that perhaps in the roundup at the end. That could be quite good. Okay. Before we go on, just welcome those joining us early in the live chat: Geo Boys, Andersoni, Mark Pay, Henning, Johnny K, Jack Brokenshire, J77 Lag JM, more and many more. You are joining us from Denmark, a traffic jam in England, Ireland, and from outside my son's school in Maidstone, says Jack. Okay, welcome for all of those joining us, and welcome everyone at Jack Brokenshire's son's school as well. Okay, let's move on. Everton against West Ham. What's the latest from Everton, who are managed by the manager of the month, David Moyes?
Yeah, for the first time since the PlayStation 4 came out, I read this afternoon. Moyes has got the
Wow.
manager of the month award. Yeah, I remember that day as well. That ages me. Yeah, Everton are in decent shape. They've only got four definite absentees, and that's Ndai, Mangala, Calvert-Lewin, and McNeil, who are already out, of course. And they could get another player back this weekend. Armando Broja, he's been out for 2 months with an ankle injury. He's trained this week, and he could be on the bench this weekend.
Okay, rightio. And for Graham Potter's side, West Ham, how are they?
Yeah, not too dissimilar from Monday night against Newcastle in terms of injuries and availability. Fulkrug is back in training, but Potter said that it might come too soon this match for him. And Antonio and Somerville are out as well. Kufal, who did resume training before that Newcastle game, he didn't feature on Monday night. We didn't get an update on him. But if he was training before then there's a good chance we might see him.
Righty. Oh, okay. Let's move for Ipswich against Nottingham Forest. I may well be captaining Chris Wood in this game, so I hope Ipswich are on the ropes. How are they?
Yeah, again, I think pretty much the same as was. So Burns, Ogbeni, and now Schmodix, they're all on a medium to long term injury list. He's had surgery this week, Sammy Schmodix. Twanzebe's got this dual issue of a hamstring injury and a sore thumb. Not a sore thumb, he's had surgery on it because of the dishwashing incident of earlier this season. Ari Muric, yes, I think he's still sidelined with a shoulder problem. He was out last week. And Connor Chaplin, he's the sixth man. He is still working individually after this recurring knee issue. But Hutchinson and Cecil Phillips, they all came through their comebacks
Right.
unscathed.
Rightio. Any news, any update from Nottingham Forest?
Very little actually from yesterday's presser. Almost a fully fit squad, apart from the backup goalkeeper Carlos Miguel.
Okay, rightio. Move on to Manchester City against Brighton. And Manchester City is where many people will be putting the armband against Brighton, who are one of the form teams at the moment. So we'll go with the home side first. What state are Man City in?
Well, unless I missed it, and there is an embargo section to come later on this evening, there wasn't any questions asked about team use, so we're not actually
Ah,
none the wiser about who was fit and who isn't with Man City. We do know, of course, some things. So, for example, Ake, Akanji, and Stones, they're definitely out after respective surgeries and probably won't be back till around May. Rodri, of course, he's been out all season in individual training, but I doubt very much whether he'll be back anytime soon. Oscar Bob is the one you'll see soonest because he's been training for a little bit longer. And yeah, it's just a matter of when he is fit. But we didn't get an update from Pep. Hopefully, we'll get something tonight
was
after the
that were
embargo.
there any lineup clues? I mean, at all? So
Nothing for
we'd
Pep.
assume it's Haaland and then your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I think Marmoush will possibly come back in for this one. I know everyone, a lot of people flocked towards him last week, and then he was benched. I think this seems like a better match for him because they were against the division's pretty much lowest block last week in Forest, and he likes space in behind
Yeah,
his runs from that left. That's his forte really. Whereas Brighton
yeah,
are a little bit more front foot,
yeah.
and I think this might be more of a Marmoush game.
Okay, rightio. As for Brighton, what's the latest there? I know Lamptey's going to be back. He was from his band. I don't know whether he'll start or not. Should do though, I think.
Yeah, he's the only one back. As you say, there could come in for Hinchelwood could push into midfield, but yeah, the right back slot is the one he'll be after. Nothing changing on the injury front. So Dunk, Veltman, and O'Reilly, they're all still out. Hurtula said this morning that they're all sort of looking at the international break as a time to fully recover from their respective issues. And you've got the longer term ones as well, like Milner, Karioglu, Ego, and Jason Steele.
Rightio. Okay, let's move on to Southampton against Wolves. What's the latest from Southampton?
They'll be without two of their starters from last weekend. That is Jan Bednarek and Will Smallbone. So Bednarek was concussed last weekend. Even I think George was surprised at the Premier League's concussion protocol because he thought he'd be back for this one. But they revised it a couple of years ago, and I think it's now like 12 or 13, unless there are exceptional circumstances. And Bednarek does not fulfil those, so he's definitely out of game week 29. Small one's got a groin issue. We think Bree and Fraser are still out as well. And then Larios and Stewart, they recently made their comebacks for the under 21s. But as for first team returns, I have no idea when they'll be back.
Rightio. And for Wolves, well, we know Cunha's still suspended. Have we got any update
Yep.
about whether that suspension will be extended as we anticipate it will be?
Yeah, nothing official yet, Joe, from the Football Association. I think that the charge is still there. I suspect we'll hear more about that during the international break because
Okay.
that's a good 2.5 weeks of
Okay. Rightio.
downtime in the Premier League.
Okay.
If he's found guilty, which I think he probably will be,
Yeah, he headbutted
it'll be
someone, so
yeah.
punched them
This is obviously a separate charge.
on
This is
camera.
misconduct. So yeah, I think it's at least 2 games. I think for a repeat offence, it's another 3 games. Sorry, an extra game. So that'll be three on top of his three he's already got.
Right.
So probably game week 34 is that before he's back. A long time yet. Injury wise, it's good news though. Munetsi, who I think a lot of people are, or some people, a lot is probably pushing it a bit.
Yeah.
Some people are thinking about as a cheeky differential.
Yeah.
Um, he has been past fit.
Okay.
He was taken off at half time last weekend, all precautionary, but he's trained with the team and ready to help. I called him the Zimbabwean Kevin Nolan in my scout squad entry this week. He's got that knack of getting into the box and scoring goals. No fresh concerns either. So I think it's just the long term ones like Mosquera, Chiwumi, and Gonzalez who are out.
Okay. Rightio. Bournemouth against Brentford. This. Oh god, if this is a 0-0, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah,
It was
it's going to be a 0-0.
Bomo Wissa put them to the sword this fixture last season, and it was 3-2 to Brentford this season as well. So I'm anticipating goals. We'll go with Bournemouth first. What shape are they in for this? Hopefully a goal fest.
Yeah, the once lengthy injury list has really whittled down. Zabani actually wasn't injured; he was just banned, but he's back now from that 3 match suspension. And the next two off the rank are Senesi and Araujo as well. So they're both cleared to train this week after the surgeon's advice. So this might come a bit too soon for them. And even if they are in the squad, it'll be on the bench. But they are now chosen in after I think 4 month absences. So I think that just leaves Adam Smith and Enes Unal out with injuries. Ryan Christie does have this niggling groin issue, and he's playing through it for now. He does remain available for selection, but they are managing him on a game-to-game basis.
Okay, and what's the latest for Brentford then?
Yeah, the third and final press conference from yesterday was Thomas Franks, and yeah, if you've got Sepp Vandenberg on your bench and you're hoping for a 1 or a 2 or more this weekend, then you might be in luck. Although um, it could be on the bench. So
Okay.
he's trained this week. That's one
Yep.
good thing. And Thomas Frank said he's got a good chance of being involved. Now, involved is the word. I think Thomas Frank is famously very cautious with people returning from injuries. So I think he might be on the bench, but he may come on and get you a 1 point if you need him. Other players back in training. Rico Henry's back in training. Aaron Hickey has been for a while. Gustavo Nunez. Again, I think this weekend too soon for those three, but on the grass, Igor Thiago and Josh Da Silva, they're running, I think, but they're a little bit further behind. Carvalho has had shoulder surgery this week and may miss the rest of the season. The best case scenario is the last couple of games for him. And then Michael Coyote, the January signing, on loan, he is unlikely to recover in time for this weekend, but should be back in game week 30.
Okay, Arsenal against Chelsea next. We'll go with Arsenal first. Yeah, I mean, could Saka be back?
It doesn't sound like it, although Martinelli did spring out of nowhere, didn't he, a week or two ago? Uh, Arteta did give an update on Saka this afternoon. He said he's getting closer, he's stepping up and making very good progress. And let's see when we decide to throw him in with the team. I think he means in training and how
Right.
fit he can get to it quickly. So I think other side of the break for him. Although you never know with Arteta. White and Martinelli, they've been back a while, of course, and Martinelli got some minutes in the last two games. White got his first start in midweek, so they are now options for him. Just leaves, apart from Saka, of course, Jesus, Havertz, and Tomiyasu on the injury list. They're out for the season. There's one other bit of team news, Raheem Sterling, who actually had a really good game in midweek.
Mm,
He now can't play this weekend because he's on loan from Chelsea
okay.
and he is ineligible.
Okay, and for Chelsea next, they've got a number of players on the injury list as well. But could some of them be back?
It doesn't sound like it. Jackson and Madueke, they are probably going to be on the other side of the international break. I
Hmm.
think Maresca said that earlier this week before the Copenhagen game. And Gusto, who missed out in game week 28, despite Maresca saying he would probably be available, he was still sidelined for that Thursday night game as well. So it sounds like he might miss out too. Mudrik's still banned, of course. Fafana and Lavia, they're fine. They are ineligible for Europe. They're not in the
Okay.
Conference League squad, so they couldn't play last night, but they're injury free.
Okay. Good.
Maresca's confirmed that Sanchez will start between the posts this weekend. So
Hmm.
it was Maresca coming back in. Sorry, it was Sanchez coming back in 28.
Right.
Jorgensen got the nod last night, but Sanchez is between the posts,
Okay.
and Maresca says that's the plan for the rest of the season. Palmer, James, and I think Nkunku were affected
Mm,
by illness last weekend.
okay.
Palmer came off a little bit early. James missed out altogether. All were back in training this week after missing the start of the week. All were on the bench last night. I think
Okay.
all of them got on. So I
Okay.
think there's no lingering worries there.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting plan to avoid getting clean sheets by having Sanchez back, but he knows
I think
best.
Jorgensen's much better, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Brighton's third choice keeper, remind everyone, supplanted by Jason Steele. That's how good he is. Fulham against Tottenham. Yeah, what's the latest from Fulham against Spurs, who progressed midweek in Europe?
Yes, they did. Yeah, Fulham first. Lukic is still suspended. This is his second game of his two-match ban. And Nelson, Tetier, and Wilson are out. Tetier could be back after the international break, according to Silva this afternoon. So if you're a Castagna owner like I am, and that's competition for him.
Mhm.
Adama Traore, he's the one man who could be back this weekend. He's in contention.
Okay,
He twisted his ankle in the FA Cup, missed out in game week 28, but has trained since.
rightio. And as for Spurs as well, what shape are they in?
Yeah, pretty good. Much like Bournemouth, actually, they're a very lengthy injury list a couple of months ago, but
Okay.
now it's really whittled down. Kevin Danso was added to it actually after last weekend, so he's got a hamstring injury and he's out.
Mhm.
But apart from that, it's just Dragosan who's out for the season, and then Richarlison and Kulusevski, and those two should be back in game week 30.
Okay.
Everyone else is fit. Everyone came through unscathed last night. Of course, they're still managing minutes, like the likes of Van de Ven, who's just come back. He got an hour last night.
Mhm.
Romero, I think, will probably still manage him as well. Ben Davies was back in the squad as well on Thursday. So just the four red flags for Spurs.
Okay, and final match, Leicester against Manchester United, who Manchester United also progressed in Europe midweek. We'll go with the home side first. What's the latest from Leicester?
Nice and easy. Everyone's fit apart from the long-term
Okay.
absentee for Dawu.
Okay, Manchester United, probably more complicated.
Yeah, it is. And I think they now have the lengthiest injury list in the league. But even that is abating a little bit. So they're going to get Mason Mount. Remember him? He's
Mm,
available and should be on the bench this weekend, all being well. Ugarte they got back on Thursday night as well. And Maguire has a possibility to feature against his old club on Sunday. Everyone else who was injured, I think, is still injured. Mainu, Evans, Shaw, Altai, Heaton, Amad Diallo, Martinez, they're all out. Lenny Yoro joined the injury list after last weekend, actually.
mm.
He's going to miss out this weekend. Patrick Dorgu's serving the final match of his three-match ban. So, yeah, even though they do get a few bodies back, I think the injury list and suspension list still runs almost at double figures there.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll round up that, and then you can add in some of those team news from the likes of Newcastle, Villa, Liverpool and Palace. Available: Van der Berg, Rico Henry, Fofana and Lavia. They're all available. Traore should be back. Fitness concerns really after his twisted ankle. Maguire could be back, and Mount. We might see Mount here, perhaps as a substitute in this game. Chaplin, fitness problems probably keep him out for Ipswich. I've got Jackson and Madueke. I've got him back in game week 30. They are out for this game, but they could be back in game week 30. That is interesting because a lot of people are selling Palmer, and Palmer performs better when Lavia's in the side, when Jackson's in the side. So to take note of that. Raheem Sterling can't play. He's ineligible. Saka getting closer. We may see him. We saw a surprise Martinelli appearance. You never know. Saka may make an appearance. Do not be surprised. But it's probably more likely to be game week 30 because it doesn't look like he's back in training yet. Bednarek, concussion's going to keep him out. Yoro, foot problem as well. What's the latest from those teams that aren't playing in this blank game week but are definitely of interest to our transfers?
Yeah, there's only 2 press conferences obviously from those 4 clubs, and the reason they're blanking is because of Liverpool and Newcastle's cup final this weekend.
Yeah.
And Howe and Slot have faced the media this morning. I'll go with Howe first because it's nice and simple. It's as you were. It's the long-term ones: Lascelles, Hall, and Botman who are out injured, and Gordon is banned. Isak is fine. Liverpool. Here's the interesting stuff. So they are going to be without Alexander Arnold, as what we thought. We knew he was going to miss the cup final. What we did know is the extent of the injury, and this might lead some people to selling him, such as myself
and me.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. We didn't actually.
He hasn't died, has he?
Sorry, I should say the injury isn't that bad.
No, I just
gone from my side.
Well,
I should
dead.
qualify that. Yeah, he's been upgraded. Yeah, his condition's been upgraded to alive after a second assessment. Yeah, but the quote doesn't sound too positive. We didn't get an exact timeline from Slot. He said the assessment's still ongoing, but this line here where he said we do expect him back in the end of the season. Well, that doesn't sound good, does it?
No,
that sounds like they're looking towards. Sounds like they're looking towards me.
I've already for those interested in a Nottingham Forest defender, I've already done a video on that this week, so do have a look at that on Fantasy Football Scouts YouTube channel and podcast as well, because I'll be delving into the Nottingham Forest market, I think.
Yeah, myself too. I think elsewhere from Trent, Canati should be all right. I think it was just fatigue that's made him leave the game against PSG on Tuesday. He should train today. And then Gomez, Morton and Bradley are out. Gakpo, he returned in midweek. We didn't obviously get any press conferences from Villa and Palace because they're not in action in any competition this weekend. I think they're both off to sunnier climes. However, it is worth noting that Watkins wasn't in the England squad this afternoon or this morning when he would have been. And he did come off with an injury in midweek against Bruges, came off at half-time. So that might be the reason why he's not in this squad. So I expect the flag to appear on his name. So that's one little bit of information from the Villa camp anyway.
Right, yeah. Good to see the New England bosses named an exciting side with that young whippersnapper Jordan Henderson in there to really keep everyone on their toes. Thanks a lot for that, Neale. Thanks a lot for that update, especially for those blank games. Yes, it certainly will help our decisions. Players like Alexander Arnold look like they're going to be out for a number of weeks. Good luck, everyone, with your decisions. Good luck with the blank game week. And we'll be back, not next week, but we'll be back ahead of game week 30.
2.5 weeks' time, I think it is.
2.5 weeks' time. If we can remember how to play FPL after all that time. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, thanks, everybody, and see you soon.